Okay, Chanel, thank you for having me. I wanted to just ask some question in regards to being a social worker because I am studying in that field right now, and so I wanted to get some information from you, and you have agreed to do that for me, and I really appreciate it.
You're welcome.
I wanted to ask, where do you work right now?
Currently, I work with Orlando Health at Dr. Phillip's Hospital. I'm case manager on PCU ICU, and I've been with the organization for 12 years. I've
Wow,
been working as a case manager for 5 years.
wow. So your job title is case management?
It is called
Okay.
case management now. We could go either between case management, discharge planning, or care coordinator.
Okay.
Either
And you
of the
said
three.
you've been with them for 12
12
years.
years, yes.
Wow. Wow. So, how did you end up in this position,
So,
excuse management?
I started off as a nursing assistant at Orlando Health, and I pursued and got my bachelor's. And during my while working on my master's, I applied prior to getting to the master's program. I applied for the full position as a case manager, and I transitioned in full time after I got my master's.
So, describe to me what your career is like. I mean, what has it been like getting into this position? I know you said that you were working there and you applied there, but just give me an idea of how the steps went and how you decided to really push to this.
So initially, I started off wanting to do nursing.
Mhm.
I have all my prereqs in nursing.
Wow.
Um, but somewhere along the line, as working as a clinical nurse assistant, there were some things I found in nursing that was not to my liking, not to my taste, and it kind of pushed me away from nursing. At the back of my head, I still have a love for it, but there are just some things I'm not too keen on doing as a nurse. Um, so during that time, I also sat with patients that were Baker Act or suicidal or had mental disorders, and I would see the social workers, licensed clinical social workers, licensed mental health counselors come into the room talking to the patients. And one day I asked, "What exactly do you do? What is your career? What do you call your title?" And one of them told me, "I'm a licensed clinical social worker." And I was like, "How do you get to do that?" And she says, "Well, you need your master's." I was pretty much left with that information.
Mhm.
So the rest was up to me. So I
Mhm.
researched, and I was currently working on my associate's degree at the time. I did my research, looked into the program, spoke to other clinicians on the job, and I got more information. And I was told I need a bachelor's degree first,
Mhm.
and then to work as a case manager at the hospital, I need a master's, and to be a licensed clinician, I have to get my 2 years working under a licensed clinician
For 2 years.
for 2 years,
Mhm.
and also um, making sure that I have a master's degree to acquire that. So now currently I'm working towards getting my LCSW, which is licensed clinical social worker.
Mhm.
But in the meantime, I'm working as a case manager, and so that's how I got to it. So
So you have to work under a licensed clinical social worker for 2 years after your master's?
after your master's,
Okay.
as well, you have to sit the exam to be able to, yes, to be able to get your license.
So what do you enjoy most about working in case management at the hospital?
Case management at the hospital is like doing detective work,
Mhm.
literally. And I say that because we have, especially at Dr. Phillip's Hospital, we have an array of patients coming in from all different walks of life, from all different locations. And I think the ones that's more intriguing or more that requires more thinking out of the box is those from out of the country,
Mm.
from Switzerland or England, coming in, having a trach, needing to fly back home, and trying to figure out how do we negotiate, how do we work with the insurance agencies, how do we work with families, how do we get the flight to get them from our hospital to the hospital that needs to be. So it's a lot of mind work. I think it's, I always tell people it's more mental,
Yeah.
not so much physical, but at the end of the day, you feel like you're drained. You
Yeah.
feel like you're just, oh my gosh, I've just lived to the mountain. But in all honesty, it's more mental. So I like the fact that I could troubleshoot and try to come up with an answer. And I think that's the exciting part for me at the end of the day is, whoa, I was able to help that patient.
Nice.
Gosh, I got you across back home. And then you get the little card that says thank you.
Right.
And you the other thing too is that you have to push. You have to be an advocate for the patient, because you have to talk to the doctors, the insurance agency, you got to talk to the family, you got to talk to the physical therapist, you got to talk to the nurse. You are that one person that's standing there, and
Make that
physical,
link.
yes, physical therapy may say, well, he's not doing anything, and I will be the one to say, I know he's not doing anything, but I need to get him back to Spain.
Right.
So how do we get him out of bed? And the doctor may say, no, sign up for hospice. No, I don't think he's there just yet. While I'm not a doctor, I also know that that patient has not given up yet.
Yes.
So why should we determine that he's not ready, he's ready to die? We just need that extra boost or that extra encouragement, whether it be through the family or through sitting with the patients. That is the link. That is my link for the patient.
So you work to give them the best
So you work
result
to get them the
possible.
best result possible, and to make sure that they have what they want. At the end of the day, sometimes it seems like, let me give you an example. Is when I talk about the patient from Spain. We had one that came from Spain on vacation, and he decided that he's not going to do anything. And we have what we call MDR rounds, which we meet with the doctors, the social workers, the RNs, charge nurse, chaplain. We have everybody involved. And so we literally had to fight for this guy. And when the physical therapist says he doesn't want to work, we have to push them. Because if we don't push them, like, how are we going to get him out of here?
Right.
He's going to be stuck in the hospital. So that's my job, advocating for that patient and making sure we have the best outcome possible.
Oh God, nice. Tell me something on the downside where your job is concerned.
The downside of this job is you give a lot of yourself. You have to learn to get yourself out of the equation sometimes, because you give so much of you that you could get burnt out very easily. So I always say, and one of the things they taught us in school is self-care. If you don't do self-care, you will be out of this job very quickly. You have to learn to self-care. You have to learn to walk away sometime. And as much as you want to stay till, I'm guilty of it, I'll stay till 7, and that's not healthy sometimes. So you have to learn to walk away and realize I cannot do anything else for today, but tomorrow is a new day. I could start afresh and I could start anew. So.
Okay. All right. So based on what you said, working with the doctors, with the charge nurses, and other coordinators, it seemed like you work in a group or with teams.
We work as a team, yes.
But do you sometimes find that you work individually, or are there aspects of your job that makes you, work individually?
I think I do have that, especially when it comes to, for the bigger picture, we work as a team. You have to work as a team, as a case manager. However, I think the times I feel like I'm individualized one-on-one is when I get to meet that patient. I do my initial assessment. It's me and that patient, and me getting to know that patient, the patient getting to know me. And I think that's the one time I have that, the one-on-one. But as a bigger picture, and it gets even bigger when we have a patient that require more assistance from us. For example, if a patient doesn't have insurance and I need to troubleshoot, then my entire team is needed to kind of help me when I don't know. If I could think, well, I'll say maybe he needs to go to a nursing home. Well, he has no insurance. Sometimes you forget, oh, my second option is I could send him to Orlando Health Rehab. And sometimes that's where your team members come in, and that's where you work as a bigger team to kind of help facilitate the whole process of getting he or she out in a timely manner. But I think the times we do work individually is if I have a one-on-one patient that maybe just needs to go home with home health services.
Okay.
I could navigate that on my own. I don't need necessarily the team. Not saying that the doctor doesn't have to give me an order. Yes, I need that order before I can do anything else. But I could work on that patient one-on-one.
Okay. Do you have any experience? Because to my understanding, and like I said, this is new to me, there are different aspects of working as a case worker, or a social worker. So you're in the hospital settings, but I'm familiar with outside of the hospital, like people working in the community, working with families in their homes. Are you familiar with that? And if so, what can you share with me?
I do Okay, so my experience is when the patient leaves the hospital, sometimes we have to get them connected with outside resources. That could be Seniors First Alliance, where we could get them set up with Meals on Wheels. We may even have patient and counseling service, and there are other groups out there that we could reach out to them. When I did my master's, I worked with the RICH team, and that was my goal. My the goal of the Rich team was to reach out to in the community and get them connected to resources. So a lot of times we would call different organizations, whether it was Home Depot to help build a ramp for a patient that needs a wheelchair, or like I said, Seniors First. UCF has a counseling program. We'll reach out to them to help out. I mean, there's quite a few. I can't pull them off the top of my head, but we have quite a few out there. Even right now, like Cornerstone Hospice. If you don't have insurance, Cornerstone will still come and provide you that care, palliative care, for end of life, and to make it a little easier on families. So that's one of the groups we do reach out to a lot of times for patients with end of life crisis. What else? I can't quite figure out, but there are lots of them out there.
Okay. Do you feel sometimes like working as a team, it empowers you, or you find it more frustrating, you know?
It's a two-sided question. Some days it could be empowering because everybody's on the same page, everybody's on the same team. We're trying to, for the good of that patient, to get him out, and we do what we need to do. And some days it could be like pulling teeth out because one person has given up and you haven't. And that's where it becomes the problem, when the doctor is doing his own thing and the physical therapy is saying another, an occupational is saying, or occupational is saying, oh, I think she could go home with physical therapy and occupational therapy, and the physical therapy is saying, no, I think she needs inpatient, and the doctor is saying, no, I think she needs hospice, and then the family looks at you like, Shanell, I want to take them home, and it's just chaos. And so you have to regroup and say, listen here, people, what are we looking at? And I think one of the big things that help us is that we have something called stat calls, and that's where we troubleshoot all our patients that have been extended days, 10 days and beyond, and we look at the barriers, and that's all the case managers at the hospital. It doesn't matter what floor you're working on. We all come together and we try to troubleshoot as to what's going on, because a lot of time when my patients leave my floor, they go to another case manager, and so at least they know what's already working and what's already in place, and we could just and just makes it easier for all of us. But it's both sided. One day it's good, the next day it's horrible. So it depends on who you're working with.
What floor do you work on? What is
progressive care, ICU, intensive care unit. So we're usually the next one after emergency room, intensive care unit, and then they will downgrade to PCU's progressive care unit, and then once they're doing much better, then we'll send them to the other floors, med surg, med tele, neuro-oncology. Yeah.
All right. So for a newbie like me, what advice would you have to give me as I pursue this career? Whether it's how far I go with my studies, the field that you think is feasible, or anything that you think you could share with me in regards to pursuing this path.
Social work is a fun job. As well, it requires a lot of you. Study is going to take a lot from you, especially if you have a home life, you have kids. You're going to have to learn to put them on the back burner for a little bit. So your kids are going to have to be aware of that. You need to let them know off the bat right now, I am pursuing this, and I need your help while I pursue it. It's for just not for me, it's for the betterment of all of us.
Right.
You're gonna have sleepless nights. You're gonna have lots of papers. I tell you, get good at writing, because a lot of social work is writing, writing, or more writing. So lots of memorization. All that being said, it is the best feeling ever when you're done.
Yeah.
So it is something that's doable. It's just going to take a little bit out of your time. You may not necessarily have a social life. You have to learn to give up stuff. But at the end, it's worth it. And what I would say to you, if you're going to pursue it, definitely do your bachelor's. And UCF has a program that is, if you've completed a 2-year bachelor's with them, you could do the advanced standing, which is 1 year for your master's.
Okay.
And because it will eliminate some of the classes you already taken. That being said, make sure you have A's and B's in there, preferably, because that will be to your benefit. And the masters, of course, require you to have nothing lower than a B, 2 B's in there. So you really have to be on top of your game. That being said, is it difficult? Yes. If you have a good support system, you could absolutely do it. Anything, I would say, anything you put your mind to, you could accomplish it. And if I did it, you can do it too. You just remind your family, just bear with me. It's going to take a few years for me, but bear with me. It's worth it at the end.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Shanell. I really appreciate it. And this is a lot of information, which I really, really, really appreciate.
Not a problem.
And the fact that you've done it, maybe help. Now I have your card.
Yes.
Maybe I'll have to call you for more help.
Absolutely.
Whether it's advice or any little thing that I